Hello, welcome to another edition of Hypnosis Helps. I'm Neil Myers, a hypnosis practitioner here locally in Connecticut, New London actually, with my colleague Bill Miller, another hypnosis practitioner, also of course in Connecticut. And we're here to talk about hypnosis and how hypnosis helps. This is going to be a fun show today because we have two guests. Sitting immediately to my left is Trevor. And I'm going to introduce Trevor in a little while. He'll be a little quiet to start with. We only recently met, and I'm going to describe a little bit about what we're going to do. We're going to do a little mini session with Trevor. And sitting opposite me and next to Bill is Kevin. And welcome back, Kevin.
Good to be back.
And a few weeks ago, Kevin came on the show. We met. And we said that we were going to do some work together, and we did. And he's kindly able to agree to come back. He's on a very tight schedule.
True.
Because do you want to say a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So last time I was here, I had been preparing to go underway on my submarine to go to Washington State. So had to go through the Panama Canal and everything like that. And my big concern going into it was all these things I had to learn, all these things I had to learn how to do. And I did not have a lot of time to do it all because normally I get about a year of time to get everything done as far as what I need to learn. But I had a little over 2 months to get the most important things knocked out. So I found you guys by chance just because I wanted to learn more about the field in general. But I ended up being lucky enough to work with you all and learn from you guys the skills that I would need as far as rapid learning and self-hypnosis and things like that. So as strange as the environment in the sub was, I was able to use those things and I was able to make a tremendous amount of progress with it. So I'm really happy with it.
So we're going to talk about a lot, and thank you for that introduction and thank you for letting us know. So just folks, to give you an idea, Kevin's talking about, we were just discussing before that Kevin just said that a submarine is reckoned to be the single most complex piece of machinery built by men. Yeah. Some people say that. So, and of course, fortunately, he's not there on his own. Right. But there's an enormous team effort of people, all highly trained, to man the submarine and to enable it to do what it does. And as a part of that, there's a lot of learning. Lots of people have to learn lots of things, and Kevin's one of them. And so the striking thing, actually, something he just said, was that normally there'd be a year to learn this, and for a variety of reasons he had to learn some things in very short order and the essential things. And so one of the things that's almost typical of hypnosis and what we're asked to do is that there's an interesting book by a famous hypnosis practitioner called Charlie Tebbetts. He's no longer alive, but it was the title of the book was Miracles on Demand.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm not saying that rapid learning is. I'm not putting in the class of a miracle, and it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek title, of course. But very often when we meet with people, normally people come to see us as hypnosis practitioners, usually because either they have tried other things, which for whatever reason have not been effective,
Right,
or they are up against time or other personal constraints which most modalities are not able to deal with.
right.
And so they ask the question that, there's a lot of good things heard about hypnosis and a lot of bad things heard about hypnosis. There are misconceptions, which is partly what we're doing here to clear those things up.
Right.
But one of the things that they sometimes hear is, boy, there's capabilities here, there's possibilities. And it's exciting for us because it gives us an opportunity to introduce to people what hypnosis is and what it's capable of. Mm-hmm. And, saying that, what we're really saying is it's your subconscious mind. That's the amazing thing.
Right.
It's the minds it's the minds that are so extraordinary. It's not us that's extraordinary. It's not even the hypnosis that's extraordinary. It's the people's minds that's extraordinary.
Right.
And so all we are doing is using methods and techniques to stimulate the amazing capacity of people's minds. And
And just one thing about that really is that, what we're doing in hypnosis is really accessing the subconscious mind. So there's the conscious mind where you do all your analytical thinking, as you know, and there's the subconscious mind. And really, the real powerhouse that has you do everything in your life is virtually subconscious. So that's what we're getting at, and we're using the power of that to help learn.
Right. And so, the essence of it is to, we talk about two minds in hypnosis, the conscious and the subconscious mind. And it's not that we dismiss the conscious mind. The conscious mind is extremely valuable. The key is having those minds in alignment, working together. So
Right.
you're drawing on the power of both. Because you learn with both minds, and you retain with both minds, and you use both minds. In fact, the subconscious mind, or the conscious mind rather, brings you, as it were, the information that you've learned, that you've needed. So, for example, if I was to try and do Kevin's job and I was to bring myself into a state of hypnosis, well, I'd still be completely ignorant about it because there's no learning there.
Right.
It wouldn't help.
Right.
So hypnosis doesn't replace learning; it enhances one's inbuilt capacities.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
Right.
So that's that's where we are now. The interesting thing is that our hypnosis sessions, and I want to be very clear. People only talk about on these shows what they want to talk about. All hypnosis sessions are confidential.
Yeah.
We don't share any of the material with anybody unless they specifically ask us to do so in a non-hypnotic state.
Right.
So everything always remains confidential. So both of these gentlemen here that are only going to share with us whatever they choose to share. But what I can say in general terms without any betrayal of confidence is that it wasn't just a question of a simple, little techniques here and there. There was more to it than that. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
And I mean, would it be fair to say that the sessions went beyond what your expectations were?
Way beyond, yeah. No question.
Would you like to describe, and again, you can describe it in any way you want, or what you want to talk about, or what you were expecting. What were you expecting to happen? If you had
Originally, my main concern was just getting techniques that would be very useful as far as retaining things. But as I discussed with you both more, it turned out, just going back in my past, I had a long time habit of believing that I was very forgetful and that I could lose things easily. That's just something I had always thought was just true about me my whole life. And looking into that turned out to be a much bigger focus of our sessions than what I originally thought we would be focusing on. Right. And being able to get into that and find the root causes of why I thought that about myself turned out to be way more helpful and valuable than what I thought was what was needed.
Yeah. So what Kevin's saying here, I can't stress how important it is. I mean, and there's so much in what he's just said. So I'm going to, for the benefit of the viewers and all of us, just to expand it a little bit.
Sure.
So we understand more. So and by the way, when one talks about increasing one's capacity to learn, to retain, we're talking about developing skills which one commonly thinks of children at school, but of course, as adults in a modern society, we all have to learn new things all the time. Mm-hmm. It's not like it was maybe 100 years ago where we could learn perhaps a set of skills at a certain part of our life, and that would keep us, current, as it were, maybe for all of our working lives. Now, all of us have to take in new information, learn new skills. So the capacity to develop that is valuable for all of us, not just students and school children,
right?
Because we're all students,
right? Right.
So then the next thing that Kevin touched on was that, and one of the things that we talked about is that we have inbuilt in all of us, I believe, an enormous capacity for learning, retention. But sometimes what happens is certain very, very early ideas that are established when we're very small get in the way. And as people who've been watching this may already know, our specialty is healing hypnosis by regression to cause. What that means practically is that when we work with people and when we work with Kevin, it's not just enough to say, okay, we're going to bring you into a hypnotic state and just tell you things like, well, you're great at learning and your mind's wonderful. They're powerful suggestions, and in a hypnotic state, that's very powerful.
Right.
But we're going a step beyond that, because those suggestions will be more easily accepted and made real by the conscious and subconscious minds if there's nothing blocking them. So let me describe what I mean by blocking and how it's relevant. What blocking means is that the subconscious mind believes that there's a reason to hold a particular idea. So if, now that may be a limiting idea, but not to the subconscious mind. So if it holds the idea that one cannot remember, or there is something there is something in that idea that is comforting, secure, familiar to the subconscious mind. And as long as that idea is held firmly, it'll be extremely difficult for me to suggest anything in a hypnotic state which will countermand that.
And so one thing is, like you just said, it's comforting, to the subconscious. It can be a negative thought. It can be a
Absolutely.
thought, I just can't remember anything.
Right.
You would think, well, why would the subconscious want that? But there are reasons why it feels it's comforting
Yes.
and safe and things like that. And so as long as it feels that way about them, it will retain that incorrect thought.
So one of the things the subconscious mind holds is what we call our personal definitions.
Right.
And it's how we define ourselves, how we think of ourselves. I'm good at this and bad at that. I like this. I'm always been good at that or not at this. And however we put these together. And of course, many of these ideas come about when we're very, very, very small.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin expressed it perfectly just then when he said he always thought that. How did you put it, Kevin? You had a...
I mean, it just felt like I had always been forgetful. I didn't know a time when I wasn't.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is almost like the perfect description of an idea. Now, it's not just enough for there to be an idea. We all have ideas. We have good ideas and bad ideas and silly ideas and crazy ideas and all sorts. And we're not acting on those ideas all the time.
Right.
It would be a strange thing if we were.
Right.
But what's the key here? The key is it's an idea combined with an emotion. So that idea is given force by an emotion, and that creates a personal definition. And when do these ideas form? They tend to form when we're very, very, very young. We described before, and I've described in the show, how hypnosis, under our definition, is the bypass of the critical faculty of conscious mind and the admission of selective, acceptable thinking to the subconscious. And so this critical faculty that we describe in our hypnotic model isn't formed until we're 5, 6 years old.
Right.
So in the sense that we mean it, children are open. They're in a hypnotic state, and whatever gets in first is what's accepted as true.
Right. And so if the parent says something that makes a negative remark, geez, you never remember anything, it goes straight in because there is no barrier, no
Right.
critical faculty that keeps it out of the subconscious mind.
Right.
Right.
And if it's combined with a strong emotion at the time, it gives it power.
Yeah, and you can
And
think
locks
of
it.
a simple incident. Let's say your little kid, spills some milk on the table, as little children are wont to do, or whatever it is. And in exasperation, a parent naturally says, "Oh, you're always doing that. How come you're so clumsy? How come you can't?" And they may forget about it or regret saying it the moment that they've said it, or they may believe that they're teaching the child something. But what they're teaching the subconscious mind is that it may teach them that clumsy gets the attention,
Right.
right? Oh, if I'm going to get mum's attention or dad's attention, I'll be and clumsy is who I am, but it's okay, right?
Right.
Or whatever it might be, or forgetful, or but there will be other compensating factors, or whatever it might be, and these form part of the personal definitions, and then the idea ceases to be challenged; it's just reinforced constantly.
Right.
And the subconscious mind looks for areas where it reinforces that idea, until one gets to a point where at some point in one's professional life, one needs to remember certain things, and then the idea becomes massively debilitating.
Right.
And the interesting thing, folks, is that, of course, the reason Kevin came is because he understands this. He knows this on a conscious mind level. He knows that there's something there, but he can't deal with it. And not just he, none of us can, without access to the subconscious mind.
Right, because one of the things is I could sit there and tell Kevin in a non-hypnotic state over and over, you've got a great memory. but I'm only speaking to his conscious mind.
Right.
And so it can't affect the subconscious in that case. And that's why we use hypnosis, so we can get down into the subconscious where those beliefs are held and change those beliefs.
And
Right.
so, one of the things that we've probably all heard about is positive mental attitude and positive
Right.
reinforcement. I just winged my way here from my son's T-ball game. And the parents, everyone, yay, good hit, great job, and everything's like that, right? Which is wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that. But if that little child has an attitude about themselves that is not really like that, that stuff will just wash right off them.
Right.
Because they'll have a more firmly held attitude that I can't do this, or I mustn't do this, or I can only do it this way. And so those little 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds at that point will be reinforcing those ideas that they hear around them.
Right. So basically, the first idea is taken into the subconscious mind at an early age when you don't have that barrier, that critical faculty, and it forms part of the personal definition. And then as you grow, the critical faculty forms, and so a new idea comes in, or it can be the same idea. I can't remember very well. Well, if it matches what's down in the subconscious, that idea goes in. And so every time you hear in your life, I can't remember very well, it keeps going and reinforcing that initial definition. If on the other hand you hear, gee, I do remember well, it comes down to the critical faculty. The critical faculty says, no, that doesn't match what's down inside the subconscious. No, and it just throws it out.
Yeah, right.
And so unfortunately, if you've got a bad a message down in there from early life, it's just going to constantly get reinforced, and nothing's going to counteract it until we use hypnosis to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But the beauty of the mind, and this is the other thing, this is the other glorious thing which we're going to talk about, is that once you get to we think of life as being past, present, and a future.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know, I don't want to get into philosophical musings, but I don't even know whether that's true, because the past and the future are things that we consider as concepts in the present, but let's leave that one. But it's, but to the subconscious mind, it's a continual present.
Right.
It doesn't see in the way that we understand. So if you say the past, it just says, okay, when have I felt this emotion before? When do I link it? And it sees all the links together. So the beauty of it is that if we can go to the origin of that idea, to the first time that an idea was formed, and the person realises, wow, that idea is not helpful, and the emotions connected with it are old and no longer valuable because they're old, then everything forward of that begins to change.
Right.
So we don't have to visit every single time the idea's got into Kevin's or anybody else's subconscious mind to say, I can't do this, this is like, we don't have to do that. We just have to get to the key. And
Right.
the beauty of the subconscious mind is it starts to make corrections because it can't bear inconsistency. And it will say, well, if I wasn't really forgetful here, and that's not really the case, then that means I can't be forgetful there, and all of a sudden it changes. And then learning becomes easier, right? So that's, that's practically, folks, why we're doing it. Now, there's some hypnosis practitioners that are very scared of doing regression.
Right.
A famous hypnosis practitioner, he's a good guy, I like him a lot, but he's just doing a course. And there's something, just to let you know, folks, is when we do regression hypnosis, there's something called, not always, but it's an ab-reaction. Sometimes it's called an abnormal reaction, but it's not really abnormal. What it is it's a strong reaction because there's a strong emotion based in there.
Right.
And you experience some of those strong emotions. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, but here's the interesting thing. What did that course say? What was it talking about?
Oh, it actually said they're going to tell you how to avoid ab-reactions, and which is exactly the opposite of what we want to do.
Right.
Is because the problem is you have the event that occurred, the statement or message, and you have this emotion, and they're locked together. Right. And what's creating the power for that emotion is the fact that it's linked to that, or for the idea is the fact that it's linked to the emotion. So what we do, as you know, is we take the person down to that event and we have them release the emotion. And once that emotion is released and unlinked from that event, the event has no power, and then we can change it. Right. And then it can change all future statements that were very similar to it.
And this, folks, the fact that is a really, really well expressed. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And it's and this is one of the key differences. And not all hypnosis is the same. I have some, respected and well-known colleagues that do not like these types of emotional reactions because the old training from the old days is we don't want that reaction, right?
They're afraid
if
of
you see
them.
it, yeah, let's squash it down,
Right.
Send them to a therapist, send them to a psychologist. It's like, but it doesn't happen like that because what they were concerned about is that people would be, quote, re-traumatized.
Right.
Now, did you ever feel that you were being re-traumatized as a result of these processes?
No, honestly, I feel like I would better say that I experienced it properly for the first time.
Love it.
Yeah,
That's
how
beautiful.
that's how it felt to me, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, folks, again, thank you for that because that is right on the money. Because you see, the initial experience is the experience of a small child, and that doesn't mean it's not a valuable experience, but that's the perception. But then the perception later on is the perception of everything that's there.
Right.
The child and the older child and the man, and everything is experienced, and then there's an opportunity to really heal.
Right.
And
Right.
so we have a process for stimulating those reactions and allowing those reactions to come through their natural course. Because as you're going to hear me say 1,000 times, the problems are not the emotions. We don't hate emotions. We love emotions.
Right.
The problem is trapped emotions.
Right.
The problem is emotions trapped from the past that haven't reached their natural conclusion. And that's what causes the problem. It's like a log jam in the system.
Right.
And so when we work on anything, anxiety, anything connected, we're looking at old emotions from the past that we're looking to release.
Right.
And these don't just have an emotional and mental effect, which is, strong enough. They have physical effects. People will experience these eventually physically, and these will be often be described as various forms of chronic illness.
Right, because if you trap these emotions inside, and you don't use a technique like this to release them, they just stay there and they get intensified as new similar messages keep coming in, and eventually it will come out in some form of illness and something, and so by releasing them and making them move out of the system, then you can actually heal from it.
Now, I've noticed two things that are common in all of the people who we work with successfully, and it's simply these two things, and these are two things I can't really give people. One is intelligence. I'll be very clear. It's been well known in the field of hypnosis that, but basically speaking, hypnosis is more successful when you have more intelligent people. It's the exact opposite of what people commonly think. That in hypnosis one is naturally gullible.
Right.
It's absolutely not the case.
Not.
It's a state of intelligence, very
Right.
high intelligence. So that's number one. The second one, and this is a really important one, and it's something that I always say I cannot give people, it's courage, guts. What's the courage involved, ladies and gentlemen? The courage is simply to be willing to face one's feelings, emotions and sensations. Because so much of what we're taught is we avoid them, we try to change them, we ignore them, we suppress them, we distract ourselves from them. But in the sessions, as you discover, Kevin, right, you're facing those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But you're facing them in a process of support, safety, without any judgment coming from anybody, including oneself, as a client.
That's right, and we create, as you I'm sure experienced, a very accepting atmosphere, a very safe atmosphere, because that's really key to the whole process.
Right.
You have to feel safe with us,
Right.
for you to be able to go down into that state and go to those places.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'd say, because I've done this myself, that's how I got into hypnosis, is I came to you, Neil, for some issues. And two things, talking about the courage. Everybody is afraid, I shouldn't say everybody, many people are afraid of doing this kind of work because they're afraid they're going to find out some, huge thing like sexual trauma or whatever from their past. Oh, if it's causing this much issues in my life, it must be something really, really bad. Mm-hmm. And that's actually not true at all.
Not at all.
It can be the most minor thing that happens when you're really young that is to an adult mind is not significant.
Right.
But to that small child, baby, or whatever, is huge.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's number one. Is that it's not always something really dark and so forth. The other thing is, though, I think you made this point, is when we bring someone back, they're not going back and being re-traumatized because they're not that little boy, little girl again.
Correct.
They're going back and they're the adult at this point.
Right.
You know, with all their coping and all that, they're able to deal with it, and it's a supportive, caring, safe atmosphere. So that really allows somebody to go to even the worst things,
Right.
and still not be re-traumatized.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know, we've talked about this, and we'll continue to talk about it, folks, because this is one of the basic understandings. But let's talk practically, because practically speaking, you know, this is why people come. They want practical results. So, how did you feel? Can you give us a sense of before and after the sessions, what the difference was for you, how you experienced it both subjectively and by any objective measures that you care to put on it?
Sure. Beforehand, I had been very much behind on all the things I needed to learn, just because I was just trying to learn the job and everything else, and it was very overwhelming. I had no idea what the future was going to hold as far as this stuff went. And, it caused me a lot of distress, honestly. But the sessions themselves, it was at a very, there was a lot of change going on in my life because I was just about to get underway. So that whole, I think it was probably a week and a half of all the sessions, that was a very crazy time. And it was almost more of a roller coaster, just trying to ride the waves as they came along. But once I was in the submarine and got a rhythm going, well, that's hard to say, but even with partially doing the exercises, being able to do the sessions, because it's very difficult in a sub to do a full, the full proper method of doing things. Even that was able to do so much for me, as just far as just whether it's just personal confidence or being able to retain things more quickly, or just being able to relax sometimes. I'm definitely luckier than some people as far as having an outlet for relaxing in an environment like that. So
now I wanted to,
Sure.
I meant, because before you were, it's underway is the correct term, right? Is it
underway?
underway?
Yeah. You're
Yes.
right.
I had to learn that. That's what. And I say, because I'm England, I say submariners, but people here call themselves submariners. So, but that's what you when you're going somewhere, right? That's when you leave port. And I remember you saying that before there were, because it's quite stressful.
Yes.
You know, just and particularly Kevin's job, the nature of it is stressful because there's a lot to be done before that happens. And you mentioned how certain things you would have found normally very stressful and overwhelming, and they just didn't affect you in the same way.
No, I mean, honestly, it was, even at the beginning of the underway, like if I was called into the captain's office, I would have been in a cold sweat. But even at like closer to the end of it, when I was pulling in, even if I knew it was bad news, it was a totally different experience. Like no matter what happens, like he's not going to fire me or anything.
Right.
So
Right.
it's okay that I screwed something up this time. It was just a very, I don't think anything outside changed that much. It was really just how I saw things.
Right.
And
But
it wasn't all at once either. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a decisive moment happened.
Right.
I phased into it.
Now again, some things did change though, because if I might say, because tell us a little bit about because you had to do certain tests and exams and things. How did they go for you? How were they?
They've been going really well. I haven't finished it all. I mean, it's still a lot of material, but I'm on a good path to finish it. And one thing I didn't really notice, I was more concerned with the actual oral examinations and the written exams. I thought that would be the biggest obstacle, but really along the way, as far as these qualifications go, is that there are little nuggets that you need to learn along the way, and you get signed off by an expert in the area as you go through. And before these sessions, I was very reluctant to come up to someone until I was very, very sure, like, I know what I need to know for this. But after these sessions, I was much more relaxed with it, and I would go into these things sometimes knowing almost nothing and say, hey, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
And I was able to get through all of these qualifications so much faster because of it. And before I would have been too nervous, too much doubting myself. But part of it was just realizing how the culture worked, but another part of it was just saying it's okay to not know everything. It's more important that you get taught what you need to know, and they'll send you away if you don't know enough, and it's okay to fail. I mean,
Right.
That was a very big mindset shift
Yeah.
that I didn't have
And
before.
that it really comes.
So if I may say, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Bill, but it's just before I forget.
Yeah.
It's just, see, what Kevin's describing, as you listen to his words, is the description of a mature adult view of these matters, whereas the fear, the trepidation, the uncertainty, in the most obvious sense, these are almost like childish, because they're literally coming from that period of one's life. And so the perception has completely changed. I mean, you just have to listen to him, sort of the maturity, and so it comes across as relaxation. But here's the thing: I just want to really be clear, folks. There's no amount, of course, that you feel relaxed, and because one's not stressed in one's mind. But it's not that the relaxation leads to that result. It's the fact that the relaxation comes about because the initial ideas that were driving it are just not there anymore, and so you get a chance to bring your adult, mature self in and say, okay, there's a way to approach this. And
So yeah, I mean, so what I've seen in myself, and I think with you, is what it does is by correcting some of these earlier things, it changes the way you view yourself, and therefore it changes the way you view the world around you. Did you find that?
Absolutely. I mean, I was talking with Trevor before this. There have been times where I've had to force myself to remember how I thought about things before this, because I literally don't feel like the same person in some senses. Like, the amount of anxiety and stress I feel are out of my memory now.
Right.
It's just like, it's very strange. Like, I almost wonder, did this really happen? Because it's like, it was such a complete transformation.
So can I ask you one thing?
Sure.
I said to you when you finished one session, I said, I just watched the birth of a whole new Kevin. And at the time, you remember that?
Yeah.
And at the time you said, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm talking about now?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's and it's not like I've completely changed 180. I mean, there are still, I think, as opportunities arise, I'll get more chances to explore, but I really do feel like I have the tools now, and that I have the ability to look at other things that are caught up in me, or things like that. So
right.
And one of the things that we did in
I've rounded the corner, really, is the best way to say it.
You've done fantastic.
Kevin's mentioned a couple of times the tools, and I just want to let people know is that for anybody that works more than a couple of sessions with me, and I teach them specific self-hypnotic tools. They're very, very specific. They're not. There's a ton of books and material on self-hypnosis. That's not what we're describing here. It's the ability, in a sense, to address deeply held emotions, feelings, and sensations. That's what Kevin was referring to when he said, you couldn't always get a chance to practice. But you don't have to. Just to let you know, folks, you don't have to sit there and for 2 hours and enter a state. It's just seconds.
Quick.
But let's just very quickly, just because I hope the people watching this can appreciate the astonishing thing that we're hearing here.
Right.
We're talking about deeply held feelings, emotions, and sensations which create a whole attitude of mind, which govern a life.
Right.
Right? And then we're talking in the space of a few sessions, within the space of a few days.
Right.
A complete turnaround.
Right.
Complete. Now, that's not the reason that that's possible is because it was always in Kevin's potential. It's always there. It's his mind that is doing it.
Right.
It's not me. It's not. It's the mind.
Right.
All we have to do is create the conditions to unleash it.
Right.
And then it transforms.
And I want to just say one other thing, because some people I've talked in the past say, well, I don't want to I don't want to do something that's going to change who I am. If it really is that much change.
Right.
What I found personally through it, and I want to hear what you think, is really what it does is it allows you to become the more authentic person you already are, free of a lot of these things that really keep you from your potential.
Yeah, I mean, I would say to that person, yes, you do. Honestly, it's it's who. I would say that who that person would think they are is really the person who, if they're trying to include the bad with it, like the bad isn't necessarily who you are. It's something that happened to you at one point. And you didn't have the ability to prevent it or stop it. Whereas now you totally would, because that's not good for you necessarily. You just didn't understand it at the time.
And the wonderful thing is that some of the things that we think are bad, we have a way of of re-understanding them, and
Right.
so that we actually find value in those things. That was a key part of the process.
Also, I think too that I don't think if it was truly part of who you are that you could remove it anyway.
Absolutely.
So
Right.
it's not like my personality's changed
Absolutely.
or anything.
That's what I was trying to get
Yeah.
at is you haven't changed as a person.
Yeah.
You just taken out these bad notions of
Right.
yourself.
Yeah, like mental habits more than anything.
Right.
So,
Right,
like that's
right.
part of who I am.
And I like to call these things aliens, and I don't mean the little green men from Mars. I mean that they are things that are not really part of you. They've attached, like a parasite attaches itself to you. If one has a parasite inside one, a physical one, like a tapeworm, it's not part of you. It's just eating away at you. It's just living in there. It's not doing you any good.
Right.
And by taking it away, if you were to take away a tapeworm from the gut, you're not saying, oh, well, I'm not the same person I was. You're just saying, hey, I don't have that thing anymore.
Right,
And
exactly.
it's exactly the same thing. And so this really brings us, I mean, and I'm so grateful for you to come on the show and actually describe
Yeah, happy
this.
able to
Thank
make
you.
it.
Yeah, and so this really now, if I may, brings us to Trevor, because one of the things that's happening here, folks, I want you to know is that, I mean, I met Trevor very recently. We haven't done any sessions together. We're going to do a little hypnosis thing right now, but just a sort of a mini session. But what's been useful is, how do you feel about hearing this information, Trevor? What's been arising in you? What feelings have arisen as you listen to this?
It makes it feel less of a force changed, and rather, like you said, it's like with the analogy with the tapeworm. It's like you're taking away, like a parasite, you're taking away something that's been eating at who you are,
Right.
rather than changing who you are.
Right.
And rather than, alluding to any sort of notion that the negative things that you're feeling are a part of you. You are this person, and those negative feelings are something holistically different.
Right.
Yeah, that's very well expressed. And part of also what we do is that we need in this process, folks, what we call conscious assent. We can't do anything to anybody. We can only work with what they want to
Right.
happen.
Right.
Somebody keeps telling me about this film that's come out, I don't know, showing that hypnosis is, I don't know, what's it called, some new film? I don't want to advertise it here, folks, but apparently it's about every 5 or 6 years Hollywood comes out with another film in which, there's somebody under hypnosis who's doing either terrible things or under somebody's control.
Right.
And I always say, I mean, if we could do that, then we wouldn't need to work, would we? All I'd need to do is find 1 or 2 wealthy people to hypnotise, get them to give me all their money, and then, hypnotise all the supermodels in the world to be throwing themselves at my feet, But, and by the way, if anybody knows how to do that out there, please write to me, care of the studio. But that's not how it happens. So, there's not control. And so one of the parts of the conversation is so that your conscious mind knows what this process is really all about, and not suffer the delusions.
Right.
So what we're going to do just in the last few minutes is just bring Trevor into a hypnotic state. Now, folks, this is real life. We haven't planned anything. We haven't done anything. He's not going to sort of, we're just going to follow a simple session. But all we're going to do is just give Trevor's just some deep relaxation. And relaxation is a byproduct of what we do. It's not an end in itself.
Right.
But it's a wonderful thing. And most of us, it's helpful. So are you ready to do hypnosis with me?
Sure.
Sure. So what we're going to do is we're just going to turn around and we move to a little chair. And this is a good example, because if you want to know what it's like to work with us and what a typical session looks like, we're not doing a session, we're just bringing somebody into a hypnotic state, because it's the hypnotic state that enables us to do the work that we're going to do.
Right.
So I always say to people, anything I do with them or say only has 2 purposes, either to bring them into a hypnotic state or to get their goal. That's
Right.
it. There isn't any other reason. And so if I ask you to do anything, that's the reason, just to deepen the state
Okay.
or get the goal. And all you have to do is follow simple directions, and that's it. Did you have any questions that you wanted to ask?
No, I'm pretty much ready.
Okay, so good. So we're going to just move across to this chair, and I'm asking our cameraman back there to follow me across. Now, both Trevor and I are wired up, so hopefully we won't disturb the mic.
Yeah, be careful. You might be threaded through the chair.
Yes, let me just see if I am.
Yep.
Am I threaded through the chair?
I definitely am.
Yeah, you're underneath the chair. Yep.
I'm underneath the chair. So what happens? So I'm going to ask you just to take that off and thread it back through, and you might. There you go. And actually, yeah, I think there you go. And I don't know if it's going to stretch to there. It might, and if it doesn't, we'll be able to work without it. It doesn't make much difference. But so if you
Yeah, because we said we didn't need to mic them over there, actually.
And am I threaded through as well?
I think you're underneath is what the problem
So
is,
I
yeah.
can move that like that.
There you go.
So if you sit in that chair, that's it. And this is what we call, folks, a zero gravity chair. I don't know if I'm on in the camera here.
There you go.
And I turn my chair around. When I work around the side of people like this. And I sometimes joke with the little children that I sometimes work with that because it's a zero gravity chair, they're going to float up to the ceiling. But that's not what we mean. There you go. It's a comfortable chair. There you go. And so I'm just going to lean this back so that you're comfy. Ooh, let me just see. Yeah. And they're a little. Is that a good position for you?
It's fine.
Okay. So actually, that's it. And I just push this here to lock it out, and it can't go back any further. Okay. But that just locks it so it doesn't go this way. And folks, when I work with people, I always tell them that that in hypnosis I sometimes touch you, and I'll demonstrate it. So I might touch you like this, because touch is an important part of what we do. If you work with a hypnosis practitioner and he's sitting 7 feet away from you, he's probably not doing the same sort of thing that I'm doing here, because touch is important. And that's fine. Are you ready? Sure. So all you have to do, and I'm just going to ask you just to unfold your hands. And the reason is that when sometimes people relax a lot, it locks together. Yeah. So take a deep breath and let it go. Take another one and just close your eyes down. That's right. And just relax your eyelid muscles to the point where they won't work. And when you're certain that they're so relaxed they won't work, give them a test. There you go. Perfect. You can stop testing and allow that feeling of relaxation to sweep from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes. Good. Now in a moment I'm going to ask you to open and close your eyes, and each time you do, this feeling of relaxation is going to increase. The first time, 10 times more. Open your eyes, close your eyes. 10 times deeper, and the deeper you go, the better you feel. The better you feel, the deeper you go. Open your eyes, close your eyes. Deeper and deeper yet. Deeper you go, the better you feel. Better you feel, the deeper you go. And the sound of my voice brings you deeper. Open your eyes. Close your eyes. 5 times deeper even than that. Feeling as if a blanket of relaxation is just enveloping you. That's it. And as you've been following directions, you'll find that your limbs are now very relaxed, so that when I pick this hand up, let me do all the work. You just let it relax. That's it. Perfect, Trevor. 5 times deeper, and the deeper you go, the better you feel, the better you feel, the deeper you go. Continuing to go down, down, down. And now the sound of my voice, folks, is continuing to bring Trevor to a deeper and deeper state of relaxation. He's entering the first stages of hypnosis. There's some evidence there. What you couldn't see, perhaps, from the camera is when his eyes opens, there's a slight reddening of the eyes. To the touch, he's slightly warm. These are the signs of hypnosis. And he's experiencing the early stages of hypnosis now. And the sound of my voice is bringing him deeper down. So you'll see now his limbs are completely relaxed. Just let it go totally. Let me do all the work of picking it up. That's it. Deeper and deeper and deeper down. The sound of my voice brings you deeper, and you're experiencing physical relaxation. Now, to make it more powerful, folks, he needs to go to a deeper stage, which I'm going to describe. Now, as you continue to move deeper and deeper and deeper down, as you open your eyes for me, please, and close them, you go deeper and deeper yet. Open, close, deeper and deeper. And each time he opens and closes his eyes, he's briefly coming out of hypnosis and going back into hypnosis at a deeper level. Very important for what we do. That's it. Now you're experiencing physical relaxation. I want you to enjoy mental relaxation. That's very easy to do. In a moment, I'm going to snap my fingers, and when I do, what I'd like you to do, Trevor, is to count out slowly backwards from 100. A bit like this: 100, 99. Each number that you count will double physical, mental and emotional relaxation, so that when you get to about perhaps 97, there won't be any more numbers. And when there aren't any more, you'll find that place of deep mental relaxation. Now, of course, you haven't lost the numbers forever, just for now, to find that place of mental relaxation. So your goal is to allow those numbers just to disappear. Want that to happen. Expect it to happen. Watch it happen, and it'll happen. So when I snap my fingers, begin counting out loud, backwards slowly from 100.
100.
Double the relaxation, begin to send them
99.
away. Slowly, slowly.
98.
Now push them from your mind.
97.
Now make them all gone. Are they all gone? Good. And as he moves deeper and deeper and deeper down, the sound of my voice continues to send you deeper and deeper down. And every time you breathe out, you'll go deeper and deeper down. And now Trevor has reached a very, very important state, and we call this the somnambulistic state. It's the threshold of the somnambulistic state is the capacity to make himself forget something temporarily, and in this case we just use numbers. This is a very, very deep state of hypnosis already, and even in this state, Trevor's going to experience this deep relaxation, and the mind is open to suggestions that he wants. Any suggestion that I give him that he does not want will be rejected, because he is not being controlled. He's in a willing state there, and he can hear me very clearly. In fact, his awareness is much, much greater than it would be in normal circumstances, and I can ask him questions and he can answer. How does it feel down there?
Comfortable.
Yeah, see? So he's in a state. Now, in this state, as he moves deeper and deeper down, because I've given him the suggestion that the sound of my voice brings him deeper and deeper, as I speak, he continues to move down, down, down. And so he's very, very comfortably there in a hypnotic state. And that, folks, is where we can begin the process of suggestion. Now, to give you an example, his mind will accept suggestions at this particular point. So here's an example. In a moment, Trevor, you're going to find when I reach the count of 1 that your eyelids will be, in a pleasant and relaxing way, locked and sealed in the down position. As I count 5 back to 1, they'll continue to lock, press and seal, so that when I reach 1, the more you try to open them, the more locked and sealed they'll be. 5, eyelids locking and pressing in the down position. 4, continuing to press, lock and seal in a pleasant way, but feeling as if they're almost superglued shut. 3, now feeling as if they're almost welded together, and 2, feeling as if they're a single piece of skin, and as they continue to lock, press and seal, when I say 1, the more you try to open them, the more locked and sealed they'll be. 1. Try, and the more you try, the more locked and sealed they are. See? And you can stop trying and move deeper and deeper and deeper down. And that's it. Now, of course, anybody could be witnessing this and saying, well, you know, it's all fake or nothing like that, and of course. But he knows, and is experiencing the reality of this. But he's fully aware. He's not asleep. And he'll remember what we're doing. Now, here's another simple test that we sometimes do. He can selectively anaesthetise a part of his body. So, what I'm going to do, Trevor, is I'm going to stroke this hand and I'm going to say the word numb. Numb. And as I say the word numb, it begins to go very, very numb. And it feels now as if the hand has been plunged in ice or it's been given the strongest anaesthetic. Very numb. 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 And I'm going to ask Kevin just to come round here.
Oop, 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 oop.
Actually, he'll have to probably unplug himself from his mic there. And I'm just going to ask Kevin just to pinch this hand. That's right. And tell me, what do you feel, Trevor? Yeah. Does it bother you in any way at all?
No.
There you go. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to do something extraordinary. This hand continues to go numb, but this is what's going to happen. I'm going to lift this hand and touch the back of the other hand. And the hand that it touches will be 10 times more numb than this one. Want that to happen, expect it to happen, and watch it happen. It remains completely relaxed. There, 10 times more numb. And this hand now is completely numb. What do you feel? Yeah, there you go. Very good. And you were given a good old pinch there, right?
I sure was.
Now, folks, any person who's watching this, anybody has the capacity to self-anesthetize, either under the guidance of a hypnosis practitioner or when they learn the skill they can do it themselves. This is something that's built into us, okay? There's nothing strange about it. And when I stroke both your hands, Trevor, all normal sensation is going to return. Normal. That's it. And move deeper and deeper down. Good. Now it's important that I'm going to emerge Trevor from hypnosis. And when I emerge him, he's going to feel deeply relaxed. He's going to feel more relaxed than he's felt all day, maybe all week. And he'll notice how good he feels, and we'll ask him about it. So, 1, I'm going to count to 5, and when I reach 5, you'll open your eyes, Trevor. You'll emerge fully from hypnosis, and you'll notice how good you feel. 1, preparing to emerge from hypnosis. 2, feel a pleasant energy just move up your body from the tips of your toes all the way up through all of your body to the top of your head. 3, as you take in the next breath, you feel as if pure, clear mountain air cleanses, refreshes you, enlivens your mind, and it feels very refreshing. 4, now you feel as if pure, clear, cleansing mountain water at the ideal temperature refreshes eyes, nose, mouth and lungs, clears the mind, enlivens the body. And on the final count, I'll click my fingers, you'll open your eyes and you'll notice how good you feel. 5, open your eyes and notice how good you feel. How do you feel? Good. There you go. That's it. Very good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to unlock Trevor from the chair and we'll bring around, and I just want him to describe just briefly what he experienced. Very good. That's it. And if you, I'll turn the chair around and I'll try not to take my mic off in the process. Let me just turn that around. And am I doing that correctly, folks?
You're fine. Yeah.
Am I fine? That's it.
Yeah, now you're threaded through now.
I'm threaded through, but I think
Go
we'll be
around the
okay.
back. Just swing it around the back. Just swing it right around. Yep, just like that.
There you go.
There.
And if you come and sit down. Now, now, folks, this was. Have we ever worked before together?
No.
Right. So this is reality that we're showing. This is not the myths. This is it, right? Nothing set up, nothing faked. So, what would you like to describe? Anything? How was that for you? How did you feel during that?
Relaxing.
Yeah.
Cleansing.
Yeah. Did you feel in any way that I was controlling you or making you?
No.
Right. And did you ever feel that you were asleep?
No.
No.
I was aware.
Right.
That's what I was going to ask is how was your awareness? Like you could still hear everything.
I felt more attentive than I
Yeah.
would normally.
Right.
Yeah. It's more a state of increased awareness, not
Right.
decreased awareness.
Right.
Yeah.
And Kevin, you gave him a good old pinch there, right?
I left a mark actually.
Yeah. The anesthesia is very strong.
Yes,
It works very
yes.
well. Yeah.
And has anybody ever done hypnotic anesthesia with you before?
No.
Right.
No.
So again, folks, you know, the notion is out there that you have to spend hours doing it, or it can take such a long period of time. He was in a deep, deep state of hypnosis, and there are certain objective tests. And so, again, I want to make it clear that all of you out there have these capacities. It's not me, or any hypnosis practitioner. It's the capacity of your subconscious mind.
Right.
And it's your subconscious mind that is able to do this. All we do is create the conditions and stimulate it by a series of words. Now, one of the things that we did there is you saw me ask him to open and close his eyes. And the reason I put my hands there is so that there wouldn't be distraction from the lights, because it's quite bright here. And that process of bringing people in and out of hypnosis is very important, because actually what Trevor doesn't know, and this is just a matter of technique, I don't know how many times I did that, 6, 7 times or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's coming out of hypnosis and back in, and each time he does, it deepens the state.
Right.
And how are those numbers disappearing from the mind? They just went, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But now, they're all there now, if you want them to be.
Yeah.
Right. So there's not a state of lasting amnesia. It doesn't all of a sudden he can't count numbers. We just use those as a tool so that he could reach that bypass of the critical faculty.
Right.
and the admission of selective thinking.
Right. I mean, basically, what you've just seen is that we, Neil, actually guided you into a state of hypnosis. You know, it was your faculties and your abilities to get there. You just didn't know how you would get there.
Right.
And so that's what a hypnosis practitioner really does. They don't so much hypnotize you as guide you into that state.
Right.
And it has to be that way because it's a willing state. If somebody walked up to me and said, try, you can't hypnotize me, I'd say, no, you're right, I can't.
Right.
Because if the person doesn't want to do it, they're not going to go into a hypnotic state. Anyways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, folks, I hope it looks easy and straightforward. And it is easy and straightforward, but you have to follow the correct steps. It doesn't, I know it probably won't appear it to the people there, and if other hypnosis practitioners are watching this, they'll, depending upon how they're trained, they'll know, you know, how I proceeded. And what we use there is a classic, what's called a hypnotic induction. That's the process of bringing somebody into a hypnotic state. And the induction that we used in that instance was something used almost identical to that used by a very famous hypnosis practitioner of the past, and a great teacher and a great practitioner called Dave Ellman, who you've heard me mention many times on this show already.
Right.
And that's actually called the Dave Ellman induction. It's very sophisticated, yet very simple.
Right.
It's incredibly packed with very sophisticated technique. And you can see very rapidly we bring somebody into hypnosis. Some people visit hypnosis practitioners where it takes them 30 minutes to enter a state. Dave Ellman used to say if you can't do it, his slow form was 3 minutes.
Right.
And I was very slow there. He used to like, a minute was his judgment.
Right.
And you can see, bring it to the state. And I could saw sort of a smile of familiarity on Kevin's face.
absolutely.
As that was going up.
No, by the last session, it took me less than a minute. At least it felt like it to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so each time you do it, the state deepens and it becomes more powerful.
Right. And one thing, you can learn about hypnosis by reading a book, but you really can't learn hypnosis.
And
you really need someone to teach you, an expert.
The experience of listening to a tape or something will not be the same as
Nope.
if somebody works with you, because what may not be apparent is I'm literally making minor, very, very small modifications exactly for Trevor, which would not be exactly the same for Kevin or for Bill or for anybody else. Is very, very specific. And that's what good hypnosis practitioners would do.
Right, because everyone can has the ability to go into a state of hypnosis, but you might need to use a slightly different technique for different people.
So folks, for you watching it out there, we've come to the end of the show. I want to thank Kevin and Trevor for joining us, and Bill, of course, my co-host. I hope that once again we've introduced you to new concepts and help dispel some of the old myths. And you've seen right here on the air, and we'll show you many times, that there's nothing fearful about it. It's fine with a correctly trained practitioner. So thanks very much for watching this edition of Hypnosis Helps, and we look forward to seeing you all the next time, and thanks and have a great week.